Parshas Chukas, Tov Shin Pei Aleph. I want to welcome everybody back to our Thursday night shir. Please enjoy the fantastic Tayameh here tonight. Just don't chew too loud. We don't want it to interfere with the actual audio of the shir. Very interesting thing happens in this week's Parsha. And the Torah tells us, Vayis'u mehar hahar. Klal Yisrael is on their way. They're in the Midbar. On their way, as we know, to Eretz Yisrael. Aaron HaKohen is Nifter in this week's Parsha. And then they leave from Har Hahar, where Aaron HaKohen was Nifter. And the Pasuk tells us, Vayis'u mehar hahar derech Yam Suf. And it says, Vatiktzar nefesh ha'om badorech. Klal Yisrael was complaining. They weren't happy about some things. Vayidaber ha'om be'elokim u'v'Moshe. And Klal Yisrael started talking against Hashem, Kaviyachol, against Moshe Rabbeinu. Lama helisunu miMitzrayim. Why did you take us out of Mitzrayim? Lamus ba'midbar, to die here in the Midbar. Ki ein lechem, there's no bread here. Ve'ein mayim, there's no food, there's no water. Ve'nafshenu kotza belechem hakloikel. Klal Yisrael was saying that they were sick and tired of eating the mun, drinking from the Mei Be'er. They were complaining, a protest. We want different food. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu wasn't happy with them. What did Hashem do? Vayishlach Hashem ba'am es hanechoshim. Hashem sent a punishment to Klal Yisrael. And the punishment was a very unique punishment. We've gone through different things in the last few weeks of the Meraglim, Koirach, and each one had a different kind of punishment. But the one in this week's Parsha, when they complained now, Kadosh Baruch Hu sent snakes to Klal Yisrael. Nechoshim hasurafim. Vayinashchu es ha'am. And they were biting, they got bitten. Pasha, they got bitten by snakes. So Nesivos Shalom tells us that we really need to understand why the fact that they just complained, you complain about the menu, the fact that they complained about that, why did it warrant such a severe punishment that they should be subject to wild snakes that burnt and the snakes bit them and stung them? Why did they have to get such a unique and severe punishment? We do not find a punishment for any of the other sins done in the Midbar. We know that they were in Zaycha, many people to go to Eretz Yisrael, but we don't find this kind of like a makkah that Hashem would send snakes to Klal Yisrael to bite them. Very, very unique, very, very different. So what was the severity here? What was this terrible chait? What is it that Kaviyachol disturbed HaKadosh Baruch Hu so much? And then the people, we know, the people came to Moshe, and when the snakes were sent to Klal Yisrael, they came running to Moshe Rabbeinu, and they asked Moshe Rabbeinu, please, be mispalel to take these snakes away. Be mispalel that we shouldn't have to have these snakes around with us anymore. And the Torah tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu did so. But that wasn't the end of the story. You look in the Parsha tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu was mispalel, that the snakes should go away. But Moshe Rabbeinu told them that they have to do something else very interesting. Moshe instructed them to hang up this snake made of copper, a nechash hanechoshes, and if you are about to get bitten by a snake and you look at this copper snake, then you're going to live. That's what happened. Now, every other time that Klal Yisrael did a chait in the Midbar, we see the Torah tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu davened, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgave Klal Yisrael. They got a kapara. But here, though, in this parsha, for some reason it required, not only was it a severe punishment and unique punishment, but it required the extra step of having a copper snake hanging there and anyone who is bitten by a snake has to look at it. And that was the only way to stay alive. You look in Rashi, Rashi tells us, the Chazal, Rashi tells us that the only way they were able to stay alive, like the Gemara, Masechta Rosh Hashanah, Daf Chav Tes Amud Aleph tells us, Bizman sheYisrael mistaklin klape Maila umishabdin esliv Avim shebashamayim. When they look up, when they looked at Kadosh Baruch Hu, hayu nisrapin, they would be healed. V'im lav hayu nimukim, they would obviously the outcome would not be good. So there had to be this extra step of picking up your eyes, acknowledging and looking that there is this copper snake hanging there, and if you want to stay alive, you need to go and look at this copper snake. And here, after tefillah, the tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu, for some reason, was not enough. They needed action. They needed to do something proactively in order to stay alive. Really, which, like we said, is unlike any other episode or any other chait that was done in the Midbar. So Nesivos Shalom tells us that we need to understand what the real problem here was. What was the problem? They went ahead, and our question was, so come on, to Klal Yisrael, every single day, they're eating the man, and they complained about it. They wanted a little bit of a change. You see over here, even, right, if you have the same food here every Thursday night, the oilam gets a little bit tired of it. Right? You got to mix it up a little bit. A little chont and kishka is not good sometimes. Liver, lachmajin, right? It has to keep people interested. So Klal Yisrael is saying, listen, we're having the same man every day. We need a change. And the Nesivos Shalom explains, you know what the problem here was? The problem wasn't that they wanted a different taste in the food. The real problem here was a lesson that every single person has to know and every person has to learn. And the lesson is that they did not accept the Ratzon Hashem and the Hanhagas HaBoirei. They started saying and asking, why were we taken out of Mitzrayim? Why were we taken to this midbar? We have no bread, we have no water. They're sick and tired of the man. What they're essentially saying is that I'm not happy with the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu is leading my life. Because we know that they were actually not hungry. They're saying over here, what do you mean that they're hungry? They weren't hungry. Every single morning, imagine, you walk out the door, you open the door, and your man was somewhere, okay, it made a little difference how far it was away from the door and this and that, but they had plenty of food, and they had plenty of water. They had the water from the Be'er. They were not hungry, and they were not thirsty. But you know what the problem was? The problem was that it wasn't exactly what they wanted. It wasn't exactly what they felt they should have. And they turned around and they complained to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They complained because sometimes Hashem could give you everything good. You're not hungry. You're not thirsty. And if you'd open your eyes, you realize that Hashem is really giving you everything. But in your mind, you think that it's not exactly the way you wanted it. It's not exactly the way you think you have your life planned out. So you complain. You complain to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu was upset at Klal Yisrael. We know the Mishnah, Pirkei Avos, in last week's Pirkei Avos, famous Mishnah, Pirkei Avos, Ezehu Asher, Hasameach Bechelkoi. Nesivos Shalom says, you could say, Bechelkoi could be translated to mean the chelik of Hashem that is with you. What Hashem sets aside for you. Hasameach Bechelkoi. Hashem, I understand. This is what you're giving me, so it must be that it's good. It must be that it's the best for me, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu always does the best for us. And the chelik Hashem that is with you is the way Hashem is leading your life. And there are those who always want something else. Whatever Hashem is giving you, I can have better, I can do better. They always want something else. They're never content. The Mishnah actually in this week's Pirkei Avos coming up, Perek Hey, the Mishnah tells us that Avraham Avinu was tested, as we know, with 10 nisyonos. Avraham Avinu had 10 tests, right? V'amad b'kulam. Avraham Avinu withstood and passed the tests with flying colors. The question, of course, is that really, what are these 10 tests? some of the nisyonis that Avraham Avinu had, so we could very well understand why they were tests, why they were challenges. Imagine you told the Akedah to take your son and to bring your son Akedah, that's a tremendous nisayon, right? Or Kastim, where they're thrown into a fire, tremendous nisayon. But if you count the 10, some of those 10 are that there was Vayihira of Ba'aretz, there was a hunger in the land, that they took away Avimelech, Paroi, they took away Sarah. What is the nisayon of that? Avraham Avinu did not have a choice in those. What is the nisayon? Says the Nesivos Shalom, the answer is what we were just saying. The nisayon is that imagine Avraham Avinu, he's listening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's following HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then all of a sudden there's a hunger, there's no food. All of a sudden he takes his wife into the country, he has to put her in a box, and they take her away, and all of that. So Avraham Avinu could have been upset with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The nisayon was, Avraham Avinu, how are you going to react when it doesn't seem like everything is going exactly like you want? That's why the Mishnah says, L'haidia kamachi basai shel Avraham Avinu. The love of Avraham Avinu to Hashem was that he was content with what Hashem sent his way. And this is really the way we need to be, even if we don't always understand exactly the places that Hashem puts us and the way we end up. Even if we don't understand, we see that we have to know that the ways of Hashem are perfect. And Hashem is always doing what's good for us, even if we don't understand it at this moment. And it's interesting, the Nesivos Shalom says, a lashon that I, throughout learning the Nesivos Shalom for so many years now, Baruch Hashem, you don't see this very often. And he says that for this matter, to not be happy with what HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you, there's a Yetzer Hara, Godol V'Koshe B'Yoser. He says this is one of the main jobs that the Yetzer Hara wants. It's a very huge Yetzer Hara that he says that the Yetzer Hara will send the nisyonis of Kina and Taiva and Kavod and everything to make you realize I don't have enough Kavod, I don't have as much as the other person. All these things, the Yetzer Hara will work so hard and throw all those things your way, so you should not be happy. And that was really the severe sin, the severe chait in our parsha. The nechashim, the snakes that Hashem sent, you know what they do? They represent the nachash, which is the lowest of all creatures. And the one that Hashem, you know what Hashem said to the nachash? When Hashem wanted to punish the nachash, Hashem told the nachash, you have to crawl on the ground. So if you think about it, it's unbelievable. The nachash never has to look for his food. Wherever he turns, there's dirt. That's what a nachash eats. It's right there. But you know what the problem is? Hashem was telling the nachash, go. You stay on the ground. You have everything you need. I don't want to hear from you. Hashem wants to have a relationship with you. Hashem wants to have a relationship with every one of you. But he told the nachash, when Hashem doesn't like someone, he doesn't want, he tells the nachash, here, you can have everything, you can have the dirt, you'll never have to ask for food, but I don't want to have a relationship with you. The nachash was the lowest animal. So Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, make a snake, make a nachash that's made out of copper, v'hoya kol hanoshuch v'hibit, they have to look at it. You have to have that extra step. Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't just daven and get a kapara for Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu had to tell them, look up at that snake. And you know why you have to look at it? Because the tshuva will only help if you take a good look at what you're doing wrong. Take a look at that snake. Take a look at it and understand that not being happy is also a tremendous problem. Not just if you do things, if a person does a chait, not being happy with the way Hashem, He's giving you money, He's giving you the bear, He's giving you everything. You think it's not exactly what you want, you're not happy, that disturbs HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's a lesson we all have to learn. That sometimes we may not understand, we may not see how great it is, everything. Hashem gives us so much, yet we focus for some reason on the negative. Let's focus on the positive. Understand that everything that Hashem gives us is for the best, and we should really be happy with it.